Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Wings Podcast. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri. On today's show, we will meet Nilisha Phad, an alumni of the prestigious Sir J. School of Art, where she did her Bachelors in Fine Art in 2018 and Masters in 2020, specialising in Portraiture. In 2021, she received a grant from the Elizabeth Greenshields Foundation, a private Canadian charity that is contributing to the success and development of emerging artists from around the world since 1955. Reflecting on her work, Nilisha says, as a student of portraiture, it became evident to me that the entire human body serves to narrate experiences and expressions of existence. My works are figurative representations of myself and the people I encounter, which further become the muses of my paintings. Welcome, Nilisha, to this episode of Wings Podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I think that this is a great initiative. It's a great initiative to encourage people who want to gain information and insights on different professions, and I think it's great to be here. Looking forward to this conversation.
Same here, Nilisha. In fact, in your introduction, Nilisha, I quoted you where I said, my works are figurative representations of myself and the people I encounter, which further become the muses of my paintings. In this self description of yours, you use the beautiful word called muse, which in general I knew the meaning, but I actually looked up the dictionary meaning of
Hmm.
the word muse, and this is what I found. A muse, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is a person or a personified force that provides inspiration for a creative artist.
I think that when I used that sentence in my statement, what I wanted to say was that there are so many people that we encounter in our day-to-day lives, and we some of them we know, and some of them are unknown people that just pass by us. You travel in a train or you travel in a bus, there are so many people around us that we encounter. So it's not necessary that you need to talk to them or interact with them, but still they do become a part of that moment or that journey. And as an artist, I'm observing my surroundings all the time. So when I'm doing that, these people become an active participants of that experience that I'm having at that particular time or that particular moment. And when I'm observing these people, I am able to gain so many impressions, or I am able to kind of look at them and make my own assumptions about them, we can say, because I don't know their story. So when I'm looking at them, they become people who are busy with their own life. And then I play this small game in my mind where I'm trying to kind of see what they must be in real life, or how they must be, how their behavior must be, you know. So I try to make my own stories about them from what I see them. So it's like I'm interpreting my own meaning from what I'm looking at. And that kind of gives me a lot of content for what I'm working with. So in the beginning, this was the scene where I used to look at people, and then I used to, use them as muses in my painting. And even now it's the same thing, but now I interact personally with my models, and I try to extract what lives they're leading or what they're doing, and I try to take some inspiration out of that as well. So muse, as in whoever I encounter, is of course participating in some way or the other in my journey, artistic journey,
So, if we
knowingly
were
or
to,
unknowingly.
yeah, if we were to take an example, for example, you just said a while ago that even while traveling on a bus or a train in a busy Mumbai city where you live, you do see people and surroundings, and those moments happen. So, uh, any experiences that you distinctly remember of, which essentially got captured and became a part of your internal story, and which came up and showed up on your canvas?
Let me just think about that. I think that there was a girl whom I've met, and she told me a story about herself, which was quite personal. And she was in my college itself. She was my friend, and she told me a story about herself. And we actually sat together and cried over that story. And I related a lot with that story. Not that the same thing had happened with me, but it's sort of emotionally strung some strings within me when I heard her story. And by taking that story, I created a painting of hers, which I think she also related to a lot. I also related to a lot. And to my surprise, girls who saw the painting, who didn't know her story or mine or anybody's story, related to that painting. So I think that, there is this emotional thread that connects all of us. Even if we don't know each other's story word to word, there is some kind of an emotional connection that connects all the people together, regardless of, what relationship you have with them, whether they are known or unknown, or whether you know them, they are friends. It could be anybody, but there is this emotional thread which connects people, and that thread is what I try to capture within my paintings.
Nilisha, often I feel, and this is my personal take on this thing called, inspiration, and I personally relate a lot to this concept or an idea of the muse. And I'll tell you what is my personal association and experience with this concept called muse. For me, the muse is a kind of an elusive force that you feel that it exists, but you can't see it, you can't touch it. You can listen to its voice as if it is kind of calling you and asking you to do something. I don't know, this is what happens to me many a times, that there is this unseen, unfelt voice that I hear, and it speaks to me. Uh, I wonder
Mhm.
if you've experienced something like this in your work.
I think that's what I'm trying to, explain, that when I see these unknown people, I don't know anything about them. So, they are these unknown muses itself that I'm extracting my content from. So I don't know anything about them, but something about them makes me feel that this person should be there in my paintings. So this person should play some role in my painting. So role I am like uh, I am trying to give them that role to play. That is the role that I am giving them is. So that is my impression that I am reflecting on them. That is not who they are.
Sure, sure,
So
sure.
that's why I'm saying that they are the muses, that they are my muses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other sources of inspiration? Because I know for many a creative artist, it's probably a piece of music or a particular film or a book or some of the artists that they have looked up to essentially become a source of inspiration.
I think that inspiration in general, you can draw so much of inspiration out of your daily life. You know, you walk on a street and you see so many things happening around you, and the mind just registers these things and keeps them aside. As there's a file in your mind where you keep these things, and then uh, at a particular moment you open those files, see what goes with this, and then you extract some content and you paint on that. This is one way for inspiration. So it doesn't have to be just art books or art related stuff. It can be anything. Actually, it can be a movie you watch, it can be people you encounter, conversations you have, it can be a travels. Everything is content for an artist. And the second way is to read a lot of historical or history, or go through the history of art. And me doing my thesis for thesis two times during my college life, once during my bachelor's and once master's. I came across a lot of artists who were related to what work I do. So within those artists, I found Jenny Saville, who is an artist from the Young British group, and she has a tremendous amount of work. She's done tremendous amount of beautiful abstract figurative compositions, and I'm crazy about them. So each interview of hers, everything, I'm keeping myself updated to what she is doing. And I think that she's evolved so much as an artist that reading about her has evolved me as well along with her. So I really enjoy watching her interviews, reading about her. So it's not just about the visual impact of her work, it's also so much about her thought process and how she thinks about life in general. So the way she describes flesh, and then the way she describes her journey of giving birth and creating flesh within her own body, and then painting that flesh. So all kinds of flesh she's painted, and being skillful and masterful in what she does visually, and then adding that thought process to that and creating that uh, you know that impact in the end, that is just tremendous. And it's my dream in life to see those paintings in person.
So, thanks to you, Nilisha, I got introduced to this amazing figurative artist called Jenny Saville. And I looked up, and she's all of 50. Uh, and some of her works that I saw in one of the YouTube videos, two things that stood out for me. One is the size of the paintings. They are huge, 4 feet by 6 feet, 6 feet by 8 feet, or even bigger than that. And in that
Mhm.
massive, massive canvas, one sees a huge face, and
Yeah.
the faces are gory, if I can use the word. I mean, I saw one which was a face which was so disfigured, as if it was a face of a person who has met an accident, and there's like blood all over the face, and the face is disfigured. And I don't know. I mean, what sort of genre is this?
I think that mostly when we are looking at paintings and art is supposed to be something that gives us pleasure, that makes us happy, that gives us some kind of a good feeling about ourselves and our surroundings. But then there is this another side of the coin, another part of the art world, I should say, where artists like Francisco Goya, and they have painted paintings that are difficult to look at. But I think that emotions have so many ranges. You can't be happy all the time. You can't be happy 24/7. We experience so many emotions in a day. We get up in the morning, we are in a happy calm mood. Then as the day progresses, we encounter so many people around us, so many things happen. We may become anxious, we may become angry. So many things that and emotions that an artist goes through, or as a person goes through, not an artist, not just an artist, but every person. And I think every emotion has some validity. It should be taken into consideration. I think that artists who have worked on such themes like Jenny Saville is, they are giving some kind of a existence to those emotions as well. And the main part about art is that it should evoke some kind of emotion. And it's not, and emotion is not just happiness, emotion is everything. So if you feel any kind of emotion, like how you described her work to be gory, I think gory is also an emotion. And if she is evoking that within you when you are looking at the painting, I think she's doing a pretty successful job of it.
Oh yes, I mean, of course, I haven't seen it live. The very seeing it on a small, smartphone screen on a YouTube video, or a still image of her painting, the first emotion that you get of Jenny Saville's work is shock.
Yeah.
That how can a human body look like this? It
Right.
is gory is actually an understatement, and I think one of the navarasas that we have in India, which probably comes closest to the description of her work, is this word called bibhatsa.
Right. Right.
And
Mhm.
she seems to have inspired you and also become a source of inspiration for you to apply for this Canadian grant. Why don't you talk us through that?
So Jenny, when she was in college, she had her first show, which was so Saatchi Art Gallery is a huge gallery in London, and Charles Saatchi is the founder of that gallery. And Charles Saatchi visited her show in college and directly gave her a solo show from college to exhibit her works in the Saatchi Art Gallery. And she just took that opportunity by its horns, and she, I think, applied for the grant for financial support to support her to make paintings of that huge, massive scale that she does for that particular show. And she got that grant during that time. And I read about this while studying about her, and I came to know of the grant through this. And I was attracted to the grant not because of the financial support it was offering me. Of course, that was a I needed that support. That's not a question to be discussed. But I just that become a goal that this person that I'm admiring so much has got this grant. What if I got it as well? Years later, I got it as well. I would feel at least a little close to her. I don't know about meeting her someday, or I don't know if that's gonna happen, or that may not happen. But at least something is connecting me to her, and for that purpose, I applied for the grant, and I was absolutely thrilled, not for the financial support, but for the fact that I got the grant that Jenny Savina has got. So that was kind of a weird, I should say, weird motivation for me, but it worked.
And I discovered a very interesting coincidence while going through the Elizabeth Greenshields Foundation website, that the
Yeah,
year your hero, the artist that you look up to, Jenny Saville, got her grant
yeah.
in 1996 was the year you were born.
Oh my God, yes. Yes, yes.
So the story is getting repeated in the next generation. But Nilisha, we had one of the guests on our podcast, sometime back. He made a very interesting statement. I wanted to pick your brains on this statement. He said, and I
Yeah.
quote, "For me, there is a conscious questioning of tradition happening right now." How
Right.
do you, resonate or associate with this line?
So I think the traditions are something which are written down, and today's generation is constantly questioning it at every point in life. Like, why is this like this? Why is that like that? What is the reason behind this? What is the reason behind that? And this questioning has actually led them to create new traditions, which are more relatable to our generation. And I think that this questioning should happen year after year so that new rules are made and new uh, uh, what can we say, new inspirations are written down from the traditions that were passed down to us from our generation. And I relate to this sentence in such a way that tradition is important in life, but you should also be um, what can I say, you should be courageous enough to question them and to extract what will help you in life out of them and add to it so that you can give that extra to the next generation that is coming. That's how I associate with this sentence that he said.
So, if I were to ask you, when you look at the world around you, whether it be the city of Mumbai where you live, or India, which is your country, or the larger world that is around you, uh, when you look at the world around you, what is it that uh, disturbs you, shakes you up, makes you question things in such a way that it may probably become an inspiration to you for some of your current or future paintings that you're doing. Something that वो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना झिझोड़ के रख दिया टाइप्स like for example this amazing Mexican artist Frida Kahlo, and I was watching her film on Netflix a couple of months back. Beautiful film. And her muse, I mean, she herself was a muse to her, but then in her initial days, Diego Rivera, her husband, whom she married, became a big source of inspiration for her. And Diego Rivera did what he did thanks to
Yeah.
the communist revolution that was shaking up the world in the 1920s. So
Hmm.
artists in many ways are not alienated from the world around them, right? They don't live in a cocoon. So what about the world that is around you, that is calling your attention, shouting at you to give it a voice through your
Hmm.
painting?
There are so many things, but what reflects the most in my work is what I'll talk about. So I think my work is based on identity mostly, and I have always felt this from beginning, that we are always concealing some part of ourselves from the world. We are not completely being who we are at some stage in our life, because we are afraid of what the society is going to say, and society sure has many opinions, many different opinions, and many different what can we say, you should be like this, you should behave like this, hundreds of rules. Even how a word should be pronounced is what society tells us. If we make a mistake in pronouncing a word, also that the people will tell us that, oh, this is not pronounced like this is the correct way to pronounce it. So there are rules about each and everything, and that is okay, rules are important, but some of the rules make you feel constricted, and I feel this constriction a lot when I go about the society. And I think that's what kind of reflects in my work more than anything else. And I think this constriction is somehow, it's with all human beings, but I feel it's more around women in many cases. Because you take a girl, and you most of them, I have heard so many stories, and this is another thing that happens with me as well. Wherever I go, I get to hear so many stories from so many different women about their lives, and about what has happened with them, what hasn't happened with them. And I am a very empathetic person, so if somebody tells me something about themselves, I immediately put myself in their shoes and experience it. So their experience becomes my experience. Of course, it can't be the exact same experience, but it has this strong impression on my mind, and I carry forward with that impression, and that kind of comes into my work, subconsciously or consciously. And in the beginning, I was not able to map these impressions. I used to do what I did, and then I noticed this pattern in all my paintings, where the girls are kind of sitting and waiting for something, and they are in a static state. And I was told this by somebody who observed all of my paintings. And then I sat and thought that, why am I doing this? Why is this happening with my work? And then I came to the conclusion that, okay, so this is what I am feeling, and this is what is happening in my execution. So these girls mostly in my paintings, they're static, they're waiting for something. So what is it they're waiting for? They're waiting for that acceptance, complete acceptance from the society around them. So acceptance for who they are, what they want to be, what they want to do. And then the figures in the background are, as I said, they are nude, they are free, they are blank, they are completely engrossed in their own kind of world, carefree kind of people. So I think that this aspect of the society is what shakes me each and every time, and that's what reflects in most of my work. And it will keep reflecting in different ways of representation in future works that I paint as well.
Beautiful you say this, Nilisha, and we'll come back to this about specifically about the work and some of your work which has left a deep impact on me. But listening to what you've just said right now, I have a hypothesis to offer to you, which is your own muse who is singing a song for you. And
Mm-hmm.
probably all your paintings are a response to the song that you hear. And I'll play that song for you right now, and then we'll see how it goes. Love
Yeah.
to have your take on this, but this is my hypothesis for you.
ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से, ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से। मैं यहाँ टुकड़ों में जी रहा हूँ, मैं यहाँ टुकड़ों में जी रहा हूँ, तू कहीं टुकड़ों में जी रही है। ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से, ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से। तू तो नहीं है लेकिन तेरी मुस्कुराहट है, चेहरा कहीं नहीं है पर तेरी आहटें हैं। तू है कहाँ कहाँ है, तेरा निशान कहाँ है, मेरा जहाँ कहाँ है। मैं अधूरा तू अधूरी जी रही है। ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से, ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से, ऐ अजनबी तू भी कभी आवाज दे कहीं से।
This is, my hypothesis for you, as if this is the conversation between you and your muse or your inspiration.
I think it's hitting the nail on the head because, like he says, मैं यहाँ अधूरा जी रहा हूँ, सॉरी, मैं यहाँ टुकड़ों में जी रहा हूँ, तू टुकड़ों में जी रही है. Or so it's like he knows there is somebody out there who is feeling the same thing that he is, so he's calling out to that person. So I think it's very much similar to what I am doing. So I think I would sing this song for the world and beckon those who are feeling the same thing as me to come and look at my paintings and see if they relate to them.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
like he says कि मैं अधूरा जी रहा हूँ और तू अधूरी जी रही है. It's like there are these two people at two different ends of the world. They are feeling the same thing. It's just about frequency, and it's just about time when they are brought together. And even if they aren't brought together, there is this frequency that's connecting the two of them, and he's calling out to that frequency rather than that person. And I think that that's beautiful. This song is actually so much, it's like a, it's so crazy that how you think and how you are feeling should actually already be existing somewhere, hidden and concealed among the other content, and then one day you find something and you relate to it like that, and it's like, wow. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe for all you know, the real world is actually the world of feelings and emotions that are floating all around the world, and we just happen to be the mediums for them to manifest, is how I kind of take to this song. But Nilisha, coming back to a more pragmatic world in that sense, from the level of
Yeah.
philosophy and esoteric words, is one reality which we cannot ignore, artists or otherwise, is the world of digital technology which surrounds us so much. Uh,
Right.
Difficult for many times for me is to say uh, is it encompassing us or we are actually a part of it, the world of social media. And I'm sure this world of digital technology, social media, whatever you may call it, would have had a significant impact on the world of painters and artists like you. Uh,
Mhm.
so, love to hear from you what sort of experiences you have had and what's your take on this?
I think social media is something that is so powerful today. It has both its pros and cons. I think everything in life has pros and cons both. It can't be just one thing. So it's like a two sides of the same coin sort of a thing. So I think social media, first I'll talk about the pros. So pros of social media would be that the reach is tremendous. So if you are on social media, you get to connect to so many people and so many different organizations or so many different um, you know platforms that you wouldn't come in contact with without social media. So if you have a profile on Instagram or say Facebook, then so many people are looking through the profile throughout the day and coming in contact with your work. So right now, for all I might know, there might be a person somewhere in Mexico or somewhere in Spain looking at my profile and looking at my work, clicking on my website which I have linked in my Instagram bio. So I don't have to go anywhere. I'm sitting right here. But there are still that profile still has that viewer, that visibility 24/7 somewhere on the net. And I think that that keeps me connected to the world all the time without me having to physically be there or physically participate in that process. And I think this is very important in today's world because we can't be going everywhere. An artist especially has to give so much of his time to his work, and they don't have time for I can't be taking my portfolio to people's doors and showing them, oh, this is what I do, this is what I paint. So that would take so much of my time. And I think social media in that way is really advantageous in today's world. But the downside of this is what I have experienced is it's become too fast. We don't have any patience anymore. When we are looking at social media, it's become this constant flow and flood of content, and there is no putting your finger to where it's starting from, where it's ending. It's like a constant flow, and once you put your leg in it, you are taken away by that current, and you also don't know how I came here. So you open Instagram, you go to look at something which is art related, and in between you start looking at videos of cats and dogs and what I don't know what else. So it is very distracting, and it's like this reel system also that has come up. 15 seconds videos, 15 seconds, 10 seconds. So the talk has become in seconds now, you know. And artists have unfortunately started to get taken away in this current of social media. So art is something which I feel is something which has to be experienced and created slowly and tastefully and completely being in the zone kind of a thing. And when you are on social media, this, I don't know how this is possible actually, because those are just highlights of art. But we don't want a highlight, we want an entire movie. We don't want a trailer, we want a movie, and we want to sit through that movie. We want to let it wash over us. We want to experience it completely. And that washing over, that absorption, that experience is completely stripped away on social media. I might be talking about social media like it's something really like a monster, but that's how I view it because I am myself using it, and I know what it's doing to the mentality. If I don't post one painting in 2 to 3 months, I'll start getting messages. What are you doing? Where are you? Are you all right? What's happening? And I feel like telling them that 3 months is also not enough for a painting. But
You know,
yeah, so that's what's happening actually.
you know, honestly, yes, I am also somewhat cynical, but I'm actually more hopeful of
Yeah.
the social media and the digital world, and I'll tell you why. Because I borrow from this line which says that everything that you know or you experience is actually in preparation for what you are going to encounter or experience down the line. Experience of the static experience of seeing works of painters like you on your Instagram handle, uh, I feel is a preparation for something is going to come, which is the world of augmented reality. I think that's the next version, I think, where I not only see your painting, for example, in a 2D on a screen, but when I wear my Google glasses or whatever Oculus lens or whatever you may want to call it, and then look at your painting, it's not only as if I am in front of your painting in a museum, but I'm actually a part of it. It's going to be far, far more immersive, is what I feel. But I guess that's something that artists like you in the 21st century have to negotiate. Unlike the
Yeah,
Rembrandts and the Van
definitely.
Goghs, who had nothing to do with all this and they just simply made their massive canvases. But what it also brings me to a question, Nilisha, is for a young artist like you, where on one side you hear art should be for the sake of art, but you got to make a living, and there is an element of commerce involved, which at least in the narrative seems to be given less importance by the yesteryear artists, if I can say so. But in the 21st century world, how do you see or what do you think it takes to sustain?
When you get into this field of art, and when you think about sustaining as a fine artist, purely a fine artist, without a job, without any kind of a commercial base to it, I wouldn't say that I'm completely just doing my work, nothing else, just sustaining on a grant. Of course, I take orders and I work for people from time to time and balance that out. But that is not what you think of when you begin to work. So when I came in JJ School of Art 6 years, 7 years ago, the question that was in my mind was not how I'm going to earn 10 years down the lane. So that is not the kind of mentality which I kept when I entered this field. And I think that this is a very underrated aspect. I think this is very important because students today, when they are selecting a profession, first thing that they think is how am I going to earn? What is the scope? Or what am I going to do after becoming an artist? I think whatever you do, if you do it, if you give it your 100%, and if you just keep in your mind to become a master of what you do, or not a master, but at least to do it to your full capacity, it is bound to give you back. What you give comes back to you. I'm a huge believer of this. And I feel this kind of a hopeful, a rather dreamy mentality has to be kept when you come in this field. You cannot be completely pragmatic, because if you are, then you are stuck at that particular point itself. And I wouldn't say that my parents didn't think about this. My father, he himself is an artist. And when I decided to come in this profession, he I was pretty good at studies. I got 90% in my 10th standard board exams. I topped my college in 12th standard board exams. So he was like, you could become a doctor. Why are you coming in this field? It's extremely difficult here. And I was completely set. Even my mother, being a doctor herself, was set that no, your life is meant to be an artist. You should become an artist only. You cannot become something else. And I think that that confidence sort of reflected in me, and I got that confidence to go ahead with what I wanted to do, and I did what I had to do. And I think that pragmatism is good to a certain level, but it shouldn't hinder with your dreams, and it shouldn't hinder with what is passionate to you, because what is passionate to you is going to give you what you want, and the world won't give you what you want. Passion will give you what you want, because you will be working towards it, and you will be indirectly, you will be giving what you want. So giving yourself what you want. So I think that that's how I look at this entire commerce. And as for commerce, I'm often asked by people, how do you sell your paintings? So I've done nothing to sell my paintings. I don't use any Instagram algorithms, strategies, nothing to, sort of promote myself. I just upload my work. People from all over the world look at it. If somebody likes it, they contact me, they buy it, and that's all. So that way, social media has been so good to me. And on the other hand, I haven't completely, immersed myself in that money mentality, or what am I going to do, or those questions that kind of trouble us.
Nilisha, I know your father, Mr. Jagdish Phad, is also one of the fine painters of our country. And
Yeah.
he has, I'm sure, has been a great source of inspiration and motivation for you. But I'm curious to know, when you and your father discuss art,
Yeah.
what happens in that discussion?
What happens in that discussion is that my mother becomes a sandwich and we both go on and on and on about it. And we have these heated discussions in the house every day, almost every day, where we are talking about art and what is not and what not should be and not what shouldn't be, and all of those things. And I think that his insight has proved so much, so useful to me. And he tells me that he learns quite a few things from me as well, being my age and being my generation. So it's like a give and take of art, which is actually we feed on it, under those kind of inspiration, on those kind of discussions, and on those kind of give and take of thoughts. I think it's wonderful to have somebody to have that with.
But when you have an intergenerational conversation, that too a father daughter conversation where both of you are prolific painters, having their own independent ideologies and ideas, uh, you know, I'm sure give us an example of the intensity. If you can take an example of some conversation that you've had, if it is not too private.
I think that he never guides me on my thoughts. So if I have a thought behind my painting and I decide that, okay, so this is what I want to show, this is my composition, and this is what I'm going to do, he never interferes with that. But he's never satisfied at the execution of it. So he'll always, I'm painting, suppose I'm painting something, and he'll come from behind and, okay, that this should be done like this, I should do. And I will just, I'm in that heat of the moment. So I'll get frustrated. Okay, let me do it, and then you tell me about that. Let me finish my work first, then you tell me, then we'll talk about this. So these kind of arguments are happening all the time. But of course, what he guides is very useful to me. And I can't zone in on one conversation, because we have had millions of such conversations and arguments. So I can't remember a particular, like, but if you want a small, like, example, or I should say a very memorable experience of mine with my father, then I can narrate that. So I was in college. I was just in second year of college in Bachelors, and I was not going to any competitions or anything of the sort at that time, because I was completely in my zone that I want to learn. I don't know anything yet. That, and I really didn't. So I didn't used to go out competitions and compete and all things. But my classmates one day said, come to this competition, it's really good. It's a portrait competition where a model sits in front of you and everybody sits and paints that model, and then prizes are selected from those works. That sort of a competition. And I went, and the night before I had to go for that, um, I was like, okay, so I'm going to this competition. And my dad was like, okay, you go for it, but don't think that you are going to win or anything, because there are many seniors who are going to participate, who are much more experienced than you. So just go as a learning experience, don't think about anything else. So with that mentality I went, but then I won the best portrait award. and
Wow.
and I came home with that certificate and that trophy, and I didn't show it right away to him. So what I did was I clicked a photograph of that painting which I had got the award, And I showed that photograph to him, and I said that, look at this. I didn't win anything, but this did. This painting won the first award. What do you think of this? He's like, oh, it should win. It's such a wonderful painting. There's so much to learn from it, etc. And then I showed him the trophy and the certificate. Okay, so this is actually mine, and I won. And he was speechless at that time. And
Wow.
I like to trouble him with that experience. See, I proved you wrong before, so believe in me now. I'll do it again.
Absolutely, absolutely. But conversations like these, though the intensity could be very high, and as they say, wherever there is heat, there is also light. So, Nilisha, on this note, what I would want to ask you is, at such a young age, all of 26, 27, a lot has happened to you. You have done your masters in JJ. You won this very prestigious Canadian grant, which is more than 6 decades, no, maybe 7 decades old, and which has created and inspired many an artists and made them who they are, like Jenny Savelle, your artist whom you look up to. You are standing at a very interesting crossroads in life as a person as well as a painter who has a lot to create. Uh, what do you see for yourself going forward?
I think that the bigger goal that I have would be to represent what I want to represent in the best way possible. So I want to evolve in that representation, in that process of representation. And I want more and more people to connect with it, more and more people to draw from it, to experience it. And I want it to definitely just um, not be just a visual, a beautiful visual that you are looking at. I want it to be something that is shaking you to the core, like my inspirations are doing in what they do. And I think that is the most successful thing for an artist, where the work that they are creating is creating some kind of ripples throughout the world and leaving a mark throughout the world. I think that this is a very cliched sentence that I'm using, that many of the people have used in the past, creating a mark. But I think it's also very important because your existence has to have some meaning. And that's what I feel about myself, that if I was born in this world, I should give back something when I'm leaving it. And that's what I'm focusing on each and every day. And I hope that I'm able to achieve that.
Why not? Why not? One thing I can say for sure is, whenever I have had a look at any of your paintings, one thing that surely happens to me is it triggers a very intense inner dialogue for me. It's I experience two things. I experience a conversation between me and your painting, and that in turn triggers a conversation within me. So when I looked at these four young, beautiful, very well dressed women, as you said, the society wants them to be, shown in front of a woman who is not showing her face, with her back semi nude, as if she's happy in her own world, what I sense is the presence of the unpretentious free woman who she wants herself to be, but bounded and chained by the society through its norms, which is the forefront. So this is the kind of intense, dialogue that happened within me, and I'm sure it could it could be different to different people. But on this note, I just want to say that this has been such a uh, rich, beautiful, and an intense conversation for me, Nilisha. And just as a mark of our love for you and the work that you do, Asha has written a small poem for you.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to read out that poem that she wrote just yesterday for you. It's a poem in
Wow.
Marathi, because Asha, writes in Marathi, and you are a Maharashtrian.
Yeah.
So, for our
Yeah.
listeners, if you don't mind uh, translating the essence of this poem, not the literal meaning, but
Right.
if you can accept this gift on behalf of Asha and me, this little poem she has written for you, and if you can translate the essence for our listeners, and also what do you feel about this poem. So
Yeah.
here it goes.
Yeah.
Its title is ती आणि ती. ती स्वतःला शोधत तिच्या कॅनव्हासपर्यंत पोचली. तिने मोजक्या रेषांनी आणि रंगांनी तिला चितारले. खरं तर दोघींमध्ये केवळ मूक संभाषण चालू होते. अचंबित वाटले तरीही तिने तिला हुबहूब साकारले. तिचे दिसणे, भासणे, अबोल असणे सारे घडत होते. त्याही पलीकडले दडलेले अंतरंग चित्रित झाले होते. शांत चित्ताने चित्र संपवून तिने कुंचला खाली ठेवला. तिच्या मोहक प्रतिकृतीचा केवळ आविष्कार उरला.
Beautiful. Beautifully written, and it sums up my entire journey, or entire, like, what I do in 4 to 5 lines, and that is a very difficult thing to do, I know. And she's done it beautifully. So I think that this dialogue that she has captured between me and my model, I think that's just on point. So, the way that she said that I found myself through my model, and then I kind of impression came on my canvas, or what I'm painting. And that's a beautiful way to put it, because that's what actually happens. And this muted dialogue between that model and me, I think it's beautiful the way she's framed the poem, and I'm really grateful and honored right now that somebody would write something like this just for me. I think this is the first time that something like this has happened, and it's beautiful. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
When Nilisha, when Asha wrote this poem and she read this out to me, what I visualized is you and your muse, the hidden creative force that is beckoning you all the time. You and your muse have an encounter together, and the encounter happens on the canvas, is the image I had when I heard this poem. So this has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you very much, Nilisha. Just want to hear from you.
Yes.
How are you feeling right now, and how did you find coming on this podcast and being a part of the Wings fraternity?
I think that this was a very different experience than what I've had till now. And there were so many questions and so much of rich conversation and give and take of ideas that I learned quite a lot as well today. And it's given me even more content for what I do. And it was really enjoyable, and I loved talking to you. And I really yearn for such conversations, which are really rare to find, where somebody is asking you something which is so philosophical and deep and trying to extract ideas out of you, and then you are participating in that. And I think this kind of conversation is very important to an artist. And I felt that today, and that's what I'm taking away with me.
All I can say, Nilisha, is this conversation doesn't end in a full stop. It is ending in a comma, to be continued in your studio when Asha and I visit you, and we will have a nice, beautiful conversation over a cup of coffee and
Definitely
keep this going.
Looking forward to it. And Wings India is such a beautiful initiative by the both of you, that I mean, people who find it are going to be so lucky to be listening to it. People who stumble upon this podcast, they are going to be so grateful about all these different episodes that you have conducted with people from different professions, and it's just rich. It's a rich content show, which is so important in today's time.
Thank you very much for making this happen. Once again, wish you good luck. Take care and stay safe. Thank you for your time today, my dear listeners. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri, signing off. Goodbye, take care, and stay safe. This podcast is for general information purposes only and should not be considered as a piece of any professional advice. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of its guest. Creators of this podcast expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct or indirect, consequential or other damages arising out of any individual's use of this podcast. For feedback and suggestions, please write to wingsindia75@gmail.com. Thank you.